yoga teacher is just about to step off the plane in the location where she is holding her first retreat. She's so excited about it. She has been planning it for months and months and months. The retreat happens, it comes to an end, and one of two things will have happened. Either nothing went according to plan, the weather was horrible, there were all kinds of tech issues, and it just wasn't a good experience. Or it was absolutely amazing. It was so much fun. She connected with wonderful people. The experience had even exceeded her expectations. In either scenario, the retreat is over and she just crashes emotionally. This is the abstract collective emotional wave in human design. This energy operates on desire and expectations and having new experiences. It works its way up over time in anticipation. And then when either the expectations weren't met, as in the first scenario where the retreat went horribly, the wave crashes, or it crashes because the expectations were met, but now the experience is over. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking all about the abstract or collective emotional wave. I'll talk about the mechanics of how this wave works, how it can show up, whether you have this wave defined, if you are amplifying it from somebody else who has this wave in your environment, or if you're creating it through an electromagnetic connection with somebody else. Welcome to Heart-Centered Human Design, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs that want meaningful success and work-life balance so they can feel empowered, inspired, and supported by work and life. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja, human design mentor and business coach, and I am so excited to share with you how this incredible system can help you live your best possible life, a life filled with meaning and purpose, to create an incredible business that you absolutely love, that supports you and allows you to make the difference that you were born to make. This is the last of the series that we're doing in this season of the podcast on the emotional waves. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, in season 2, episode 7, I give an overview of these emotional waves. Episode 18, we cover specifically the source wave, which is the source of all the emotional waves. In episode 19, we talked about the tribal wave, which is related to your relationships, to your communities. This one ratchets up slowly and then explodes. Last week, we covered the individual emotional wave, which is the most creative of the waves. It's passion, romance, melancholy, moodiness. And today we're covering the collective wave, which is all about desire, imagination, and having new experiences. And anything that is in the collective abstract circuit is about the human experience. This is the part of the chart where we have new experiences. We go through these cycles where we learn about our lives, ourselves, other people through experience. And once the cycle is complete, we're able to reflect back on the experience, share what we've learned with others so they too can learn from our experiences. Now, remember that we can all experience this energy. Everybody has potential access to every single thing in the chart, whether you have it defined in your chart or not. The difference is just if you have something defined in your chart, meaning it's colored in, this is your consistent experience. You're going to be having consistent access to this energy throughout your entire life. You broadcast this energy out to others and other people pick this up from you. This is part of what forms your aura or your electromagnetic frequency. This is your nature, the nature aspect of your design. Anything that is not colored in your design, that is white, is your nurture. This is energy that you are taking in through other people, through your relationships, and also through planetary transits, and where you get to really learn about all the possible ways that you can experience this energy, and it's not going to be consistent for you, but you do have access to all of it. And with these waves, you either have this wave defined in your chart, you're amplifying it from somebody else, or you might be creating this energy with somebody else in a relationship. Now, with this particular wave, I actually have this with my partner, and I'll go a little bit more into how that works later in the episode. So we have two channels in the abstract wave. We have channel 4130, which runs from the root center. It is the square at the bottom of the chart to the solar plexus, the center for emotional and spiritual awareness. This is the left-facing triangle on the right of the chart. And then we have channel 3635, which runs from the solar plexus to the throat center. The square, the third from the top, and this is the center for communication, action, expression. This wave operates through feelings, through desires, through anticipation, through experiences, and it moves up slowly as this anticipation of having a new emotional experience or a new exciting experience builds. And then there's a quick crash down, either if that experience did not live up to expectations, or even if it did and the experience is now over. And you go into this lull period of what is next. And many people will know what this feels like. For example, you can think of an Olympic athlete who has been training for their entire life to compete in these games. They win the gold medal, which is the absolute best possible outcome. And then afterwards, there's still this crash because now it's over. Or they didn't win and they did not meet their own expectations and they have this crash. So this can show up in so many different ways in our lives and our businesses. Going into the channels that form this wave. So the first one is channel 4130, the channel of recognition. And this runs from the root center, which is adrenaline, pressure, and fuel. It starts in gate 41, which is all about imagination and fantasy about the new experiences that you want to have. And it connects to gate 30 in the solar plexus, which is about passion and intensity of emotional experiences. This channel is very much about learning and exploring life through the feelings that you create through new experiences. There is potentially this element of expectations that the desires that you have, the imagination, the dreams that come through are going to be fulfilled, and they may or may not be fulfilled. However, this is also where the potential of the wave crashing happens when expectations are not met. Now, there is so much about the abstract wave and this entire circuit in general about managing your expectations, because the gifts of these experiences lie in the actual experience, not the outcome of the experience. So it's so important, especially if you have a lot of this circuitry in your chart, which I do, to really revel in the experience, all aspects of the experience. Same with the emotions, enjoying the highs, enjoying the lows, allowing yourself to really be in it and have the experience and being open to all possibilities. 41 can see so many different possibilities. Being open to all of them and not overly attached to one of them can really soften the blow of when this wave crashes. Now, one thing to remember with this energy is that you can, if you just have one of these two gates defined, you are all the time creating this energy in your relationships. Now, this is true for my partner and I. And with the 4130, and any time that you're creating an electromagnetic with somebody else, this can feel so personal. Now, with relationships, this energy, because there's so much fantasy and imagination of the 41, and then the intensity and the passion of the 30 and the emotions, one thing that you want to be really aware of is communicating and making sure that you're clear about what your expectations might be, what you have planned. Because what can happen with this energy is that you may have imagined a conversation, you may have imagined that you made a plan or you agreed upon something, but that really just took place in your head. It didn't actually take place. Seems like it did, but it didn't. And this is when there can be that crash when the expectations aren't met because the other party didn't even know about the expectations. In business, you want to be really careful with this too. It's so important to put things in writing when it comes to business, especially with this energy. And now remember, if you're creating this with a business partner, or if you have this wave defined, that energy is present in your business partnerships. Because you can think of this, you have your electromagnetic frequency, you have your partner's electromagnetic frequency, and together you form a whole new frequency. It is like a whole new design that you form when you are together. Now, some say you have to actually be together in aura in order for this to be true. I disagree with that. I believe that when you have a relationship, that relationship has its own chart, its own aura, and that energy is going to be present whether you are in aura with the person or not. So making sure that you are very clear on your agreements, that you put things in writing when necessary, and knowing that these things may still happen, being aware of that, and this is how human design really helps us, just having the awareness around that can be so helpful in not taking it personally when things don't go as planned. And it's going to be very frequent that things don't necessarily go as planned. And remember, the lesson here with this energy is so much about having the experience, feeling the emotions, allowing yourself to feel them, and not so much about the outcome. So moving on to channel 3635. This is the manifested channel of the abstract circuit. That means anybody that has this defined is either going to be a manifestor or a manifesting generator. It brings that emotional energy up to the throat for expression, for action. And this is very much about the desire for having adventures, for having different experiences. And people that have this can often have, it's often known as the jack of all trades because they have so many different experiences. And especially people with the 35 defined can often just be really good at so many different things. Like there's nothing that they can't do. This channel is known as the channel of transitoriness, and there is a genetic hunger here for change and having these different experiences and this wisdom that is gained through having these emotional experiences. Some things to watch out for here. This channel is made up of gate 36, which sits on the solar plexus, and this is known as the gate of crisis. And this one likes to jump into chaos when it's bored. It does not like being bored. It really wants to have a variety of emotional experiences. And when that element of boredom comes in, they can leap into chaos. And now remember, with this whole channel defined, you do have to move through your emotional wave. You have emotional authority, and you want to be emotionally clear before you make decisions and dive into new experiences. So anybody that has this channel defined or this gate, be really careful about just diving into something because you're feeling bored, making sure that you are following your inner authority, your decision-making strategy in what the correct experiences are to enter into. And what can happen here when you do not wait for clarity and you jump into experience after experience is that you get caught in these loops of repeating the same experiences again and again. And with this abstract energy, it's actually very much about only having, ideally, the experience once, learning what needs to be learned, and then sharing what you have learned with others so that they can also benefit from your wisdom. And it's not about having that same experience over and over and over again because you did not wait for emotional clarity before you dove into the experience. So in the high expression of channel 3536, this is very much about knowing what the correct experiences are to dive into, and then to share what you've learned from those experiences with others. So remember, with this energy overall, the collective emotional wave, the abstract wave, you want to make sure that you are taking your time to make your decisions. You also want to be okay with all of the emotions. I mean, part of this is to have emotional experiences and to really let yourself feel all ends of that emotional spectrum for the experience of the emotion. Being really careful about your expectations, entering into experiences for the experience itself, not for the outcome, and being open to all the possibilities that there are. Allowing yourself to have your crashes. They're going to happen. Remember, learning about human design and about your emotional wave, especially if you have this defined, it's not about eliminating the crashes or flattening the wave. It's allowing yourself to just be a witness, to observe the wave, to not let the emotional energy cause you to enter into things that aren't correct for you, or to keep you out of things that actually are correct for you. That's it for the abstract wave. If you want to learn more about using your own emotional intelligence, your own emotional wisdom, whether you are emotionally defined or undefined, to create a business and a life that you love, I invite you to check out my program, Emotional Intelligence by Design. You can find more about it at vanessanaja.com/emotional intelligence. I will also leave a link in the show notes. And I would love to hear how this episode landed for you. Do you have the collective wave in your design? Do you know somebody that does? Or do you form it with somebody else? What is your experience with this energy? Please let me know in the comments if you are watching somewhere where you can comment. And if you're watching somewhere where you cannot comment, please go over to my Instagram at @HDVanessaNaja and let me know any questions that you might have. And speaking of Instagram, I am doing little live mini readings in my stories. So if you have a question about your chart, take a screenshot, make sure that the numbers on the side of the chart are in the screenshot, and DM it to me on Instagram and let me know what your question is, and I will answer it for you in my stories. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you in the next episode.